Interested to know in the resources that are up here, and things like internet. How's the access to internet?
Ours is pretty good when our server's not crashed on us or when the power hasn't cut out or browned out, whatever you want to call it. So basically they're the only time we have issues with our technology. We have wireless across the whole school. All the classrooms are have computers in them, and so the activity, some have one or two, some will have more, but each block has a activity room which has about 6 computers in it. We also have a computer lab down in our secondary area, which classes get to use, whenever they need to. We've got 2 interactive whiteboards that we just got last year, so we're hoping to implement a few more, and we're implementing iPads across the school.
That's a big move.
So it is. So starting with secondary and then working with the older kids and working down. So just as another tool for, that we can use to enhance the curriculum. Once housing becomes more available, I think it'll grow quite quickly. I do know that's the only thing that's stopping us from exploding per se, because we've had the same amount of kids come in as have left. So for example, I think last time I printed the ins and outs, we had 40 kids leave over the last 2 years, but we've also had 40 kids come in, so our numbers stayed pretty much the same. I think more so we get the kids that we have picked up, whose parents have come from, like, they've come as a family more than anything else. That's pretty much sort of what I've sort of noticed from the school end, obviously. So I haven't really noticed too much effect of a fly in, fly out at this stage. Oh, very, because basically even before, I suppose, before the start of the growth of the industry, the kids, they're at school together, so they're in the community together. So it's important to interact, to get on, to know what's out there for them to do, because in the past there hasn't been a lot for the kids to do, but so there's been a lot more lately. We've got the community garden outside and the school garden's in the fence section.
And do the students like watching things grow and planting things and seeing the change over time?
Yep, so every class has their own patch to look after. So yeah, they do all the weeding, seeding, harvesting, looking after it, tasting anything new. So they use it for a lot of their cooking, a lot of science, a lot of maths, so it's used as part of the curriculum. Would have been, I think, well, yeah, I wasn't here when it was established, so I think it would have been a lot harder, because you obviously need some, you obviously need funds to get started. So obviously that having access to those funds and having the support of those companies makes everything a lot easier when you need to, when you need ground money, basically. In the past, I would have said yes. Like when I first got here in 2010, there wasn't a lot for the kids to do, but now, now I'd say that's not a big argument, because between the Shire and B Swans, there's almost an activity or two, every single day of the week for the kids to become engaged in. So yeah, so and there's there's the water park, so there's a lot more things, a few more things that they can access. They're about 54%, so that's dropped. I think when I first got here it was 70, and same thing is just families moving out of town for various reasons. Lately the reason has been rental prices, not being able to afford the rent, and sometimes it's just because dad or whoever's picked a job up somewhere else and so they move. So it's 54% at the moment for Indigenous students. We are sitting on, I only just looked at this recently, should know this, we're just under 80%, just by a little bit. Ideally, I'd be wanting to be 85 plus, around the 90. The Indigenous kids' attendance is lower, only by about 10% compared to the non-Indigenous kids, and so again that's for various reasons, and we employ a family liaison officer to work with those kids and families to try and boost their attendance up and get them to school on a lot more regular basis. We have attendance games every Friday, so basically all the kids have been here for a week, are involved in games, and they get, I think it's the icy pole or something, something small. We have a school camp that's based on attendance, we have a school ball that's based on attendance, we have Wirrapunda Foundation comes through, and that's all based on attendance again. Ricky Grace comes through. All the teachers and each class have their own goals, attendance goals for particular kids, and all of them have visual charts that they get the kids to, mark off if they're here today, so it's a visual representation of how often they've been at school, so they can have that conversation with the student. We've already looked at classroom sites as to growth, and basically it's all going to depend on the amount of kids that we get to come through. I said my focus is really strong in ensuring that as the kids come through, if they do decide to stay, that they're going to be able to access the industry that's around them and not miss out, which is what can sometimes happen if the kids aren't able to access traineeships due to literacy skills, numeracy skills, things that we can affect.